Hi, I'm Phaedra Cress, Executive Editor of the Aesthetic Surgery Journal, and I'm here to introduce Rhodri Jackson, who is the Editorial Director at Oxford University Press, and Lucy Oates, who is the Open Access Publisher. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us for the next installment of the Open Access video series. As you know, we're planning to launch ASJ Open Forum in early 2019, and we're very pleased to have experts like you both here to discuss some of the ins and outs. So, Rhodri, we'll start with you. Could you define Gold Open Access and tell us what authors can expect when they choose to publish in an open access journal?
Sure. So Gold Open Access refers to when a journal article is made freely available at the point of use on publication in a journal. So basically, rather than being behind subscription control and only being able to be accessed by people who paid for a subscription to that journal, it's freely available to anyone with access to the internet. There's also a second aspect of Gold Open Access, though. It's not just about the free availability to read, it's also about onward reuse rights. So any article published under a Gold Open Access model is usually published under what's called a Creative Commons license. Articles published under a Creative Commons license can be reused in very liberal ways. So at the minimum, a Creative Commons license will allow users to reuse the work in its entirety and in a non-commercial manner. But actually, there are even more liberal Creative Commons licenses which will allow everything, basically, in terms of onward reuse, as long as the author of the work is attributed. So Gold Open Access, it's important. I think people always know about the free availability part of Gold Open Access, but it's important to also know about the reuse rights that are allowed. And the reason that's there is because part of the idea about open access isn't just about breaking down barriers to access to research, it's also about allowing more creative reuse of work and breaking down barriers to science, building upon science. As for what authors can expect if they publish in a Gold Open Access journal, well, they can expect a pretty similar experience, to be honest, to publishing in a regular journal in terms of the actual process of submission and review and acceptance. In ASJ Open Forum, they can expect a rigorous peer review process. They can expect the usual back and forth about changes to their article if necessary. And then it's only after the article is accepted that there's a slight difference which you wouldn't see in a normal subscription journal, in that the author will be asked to pay an open access charge, which basically covers the cost of making their article, or of producing their article, and then of making their article available. And that's because in Gold Open Access journals, there is no income from subscriptions. The cost of publishing the journal is covered by the producers of the material, the author, rather than the readers of the journal.
So thank you for that description, and I think that's a great segue to talking about hybrid journals, Lucy, if you could. So could you talk to us about what a hybrid journal is and what the difference between that and a regular open access journal is?
Absolutely. So as Rhodri mentioned, the Gold Open Access model involves an article being made immediately available on the journal website. And with a hybrid journal, what we see is that open access via the Gold route is not obligatory. So authors can choose whether they want to publish via the Gold OA route or publish under a standard subscription model, as they might be more used to doing. That means that whilst Gold Open Access is possible, it's not a mandatory step in that journal, and therefore authors can decide which is the most appropriate route for them. What we see is that a lot of traditional journals, which are traditionally subscription journals, are offering open access in this way in order to allow authors to comply with the various funder mandates which exist and which require open access. So it's really a way of ensuring that authors can publish in whichever way they prefer. With an open access journal, a fully open access journal, however, obviously all of the content is published via Gold Open Access, and therefore everything in that journal will be available and have the reuse rights that Rhodri mentioned before. Equally, in both of those models, when Gold Open Access is chosen, an article processing charge, the open access charge, would be payable as well.
So I'm not sure that all of our readers are aware that ASJ has been a hybrid journal for many years. Those that have chosen to sign a Creative Commons license and pay the fee to make it open and more discoverable. They're obviously aware, but I think that's an important distinction, that we are already a hybrid journal, and now through Open Forum, we'll be adding an open access, a fully open gold access journal to our repertoire.
That's right, yeah.
I guess the next question that I have for you is, predatory publishing is something that we talk a lot about, and could you sort of help to demystify the concept that all open access journals are predatory or poor science or lesser than? Because I know that's something that has come up before and you must deal with it. Could you speak to that, please?
Yeah, predatory publishing is problematic, and it's mainly problematic because of the bad reputation it gives to other journals that aren't predatory journals. And just for a simple point of clarification, predatory publishing is a kind of general term which refers to publishers publishing under an open access model in most cases who are doing various kinds of bad practices. So most obviously, they are charging for publication without any kind of peer review process or really any normal checks on the quality of the work. But also, they're often undertaking kind of spam emails. They're often more visible than they might be because they will be contacting authors en masse without the correct data protection, data privacy rules in place. So they've created a kind of negative conception in some quarters of all open access publishing because of those activities. So it's important to note that ASJ Open Forum and indeed all the other open access journals that Oxford University Press publishes and most reputable, all reputable publishers publish are not predatory journals. So as we talked about earlier, there's a very rigorous peer review process, exactly the same as in a subscription journal. And most importantly, the financial element, so the payment of an APC or an article processing charge, and the quality element, the review of the work, are kept completely separate. So we don't ask any questions about finance, about payment, until after the work is accepted. And that's because the editors who are making that quality assessment should not have their decision influenced in any way by financial matters.
Absolutely, and thanks for pointing that important bit out. I think that's an important distinction. Now, why would authors choose to publish in an open access journal versus a subscription journal?
I think one of the main attractions for open access journals as opposed to a traditional subscription journal is purely the fact that the content isn't made immediately available. Anybody can read it. It will reach new audiences as well as those which are more accustomed to that content as well. Also, with something like ASJ Open Forum, what we see is there's a strong link there between ASJ Open Forum and Aesthetic Surgery Journal. There will be the option for some authors who are maybe rejected from Aesthetic Surgery Journal to transfer their paper to the new journal, and so that can make the publication process easier and streamlined and more streamlined. Also, what we see is that when people want to make their content available, open access journals are a natural home for that. And as Rhodri mentioned, they can be assured that with the quality and the reassurance of the affiliation with the society, that this is going to be a good home for their journal and it's not a compromise on quality.
Well, any parting thoughts? Because I don't want to take too much of your time.
I was just going to add, in terms of reasons to publish open access, I think one of the things that we've talked about at OEP recently is that there are quantitative reasons why publishing open access might be desirable. So generally, we see that papers that publish open access have higher usage. I mean, that's not rocket science. If it's not behind an access barrier, then it's likely to be used more. There's debate about whether they're cited more, but obviously it certainly can't harm citation rates. But also, in a more qualitative manner, one of the main reasons why funding bodies in the UK, Europe, and other places have pushed for open access is because they believe that open access to research will stimulate development of ideas and societal benefits from people having access to research that they maybe wouldn't have in the past. So maybe people who aren't at a well-funded university or who aren't at a well-funded company suddenly discovering and having access to work and being able to use it in their own profession or their own studies. So for an author, I think there's an incentive just in terms of being able to get out there beyond your core audience as well.
That's fantastic. We appreciate your insights, and we hope to have you join us again in the future. Thank you both.
Thank you.